Hi, welcome. This is a short MarineVerse Cup devlog where we will discuss different game modes that currently exist in the MarineVerse Cup, and we'll sort of go through this matrix you can see on the screen where we'll compare and discuss how those different game modes differ from each other based on different features. So let's start by just quickly discussing or having a look at the game modes themselves. So we'll discussing platform race, race for guests, daily race practice replay, instant multiplayer, and schedule multiplayer race. And the dimension that we'll be looking at are essentially all those things that I will go through one by one. So when you install MarineVerse Cup and you don't have a MarineVerse account or you haven't logged in, you're kind of interested whether you can do activity with or without being logged in. And that's the first difference between all those different game modes. Platform race, platform here refers to Steam or Oculus. Platform race doesn't require you to log in. So you can essentially launch the game and go straight into platform racing. And another race like that is race for guests. You can also do it without having to log in. However, at the end of the race, you will get an option to provide your email. So you can actually connect that race result with your MarineVerse account if you want to. This is also one of the paths of enabling users to create an account. All the other game modes are tied to your account, to your MarineVerse Cup League memberships, to your profile picture, to your 3D avatar, and therefore they require that you actually log in. Another way to look at those game modes is to ask whether there is a platform integration. And again, by platform we mean Steam or Oculus. So obviously platform race does integrate with platform, and that means that in Oculus app you can go to MarineVerse Cup leaderboards and you'll see the leaderboards for races, and the races you see there are specifically platform races. All the other things are actually integrating with MarineVerse website itself, and they don't really integrate with the platform. And that allows us to do a cross-platform. So basically, we can bring the results from Oculus and Steam, and maybe in the future Viveport or Sony players, and we can present them in the unified view, in the unified leaderboard. But to be able to do that, we need to use MarineVerse account identity and not the one provided by platform. There is a special case here for instant multiplayer. It actually doesn't exist yet, that integration, but basically what we want to do is to enable you to invite your friends from the platform into the specific instant race, and that will be a bit of the integration with it. So here quickly, basically that's like an opposite of the platform integration. Is there an integration with the MarineVerse website, which means that you can find your race results on the MarineVerse website in your account. You can get some extra stats. It's sort of opposite to what the platform was. Moving on, like a specific detail, are you going to get the email with your race results? And currently, like, we don't know your email for the platform race, so the answer is not. You will get email for your daily race practice result The replays are sort of, you're actually not submitting your result in the replay, you're just replaying and practicing, so there will be no email. And for multiplayer, there is currently no email, but we may add them in the future. We just need to develop further the whole concept of the results in multiplayer. And you're getting emails in scheduled races, mostly about the upcoming race and stuff like that. All right, so here's a big concept. Whether the race is synchronous or game mode. And what I mean by that is when you're playing with other players, when you see other boats, are they really there with you right now? Or did they maybe play in the past, whether that was a week ago or 1 hour ago? So when the race is synchronous, like in multiplayer, you are actually there at the same time with someone else. It kind of makes sense, right? That's what you expect from multiplayer. Daily race practice is different. It's an example of what we like to call asynchronous multiplayer, where you're kind of playing with other players. You can even see them, but you're actually not playing at the same time. You can play, in the morning where your friend plays in the evening, and we actually combine your gameplay results on the common leaderboard. So like only multiplayer races are synchronous, and it's kind of talking about time. So as we talk about the time, specifically in the concept or in the context of MarineVerse Cup, it's worth pointing out that the platform race, they're always the same. So they never start and they never stop. You can play them at any time, and you can submit your entry as many times as you want. So you can play on Sunday and again on Wednesday, and your friend can play on Friday, and all the results are going to the same leaderboard. So this game mode is great if you want to master specific race. In that sense, race for guests is the same because it also doesn't change and it's always the same. Having said that, it's almost the race for guests is a special kind of a daily race. It's special because it's for guests and it doesn't change, whereas daily race practice races have a 24-hour window where you can submit your result and everyone else can submit their results. They also have some other limits, like for example, whether you can try 3 times or just 1. And at the end of the day, the results are grouped, collected, and you get an email with the information, like, what was the results of that daily race practice. And essentially, daily race practice replay are those races from previous time periods, like from yesterday, day before, 2 days before. And the difference between those two modes is that in the daily race practice replay, you get to sail in that race, but you are no longer getting to submit your race entry because you missed the time window. There was a specific time window to submit that race result. Instant multiplayer, obviously, you can play wherever you want as long as 2 of you join into the same game session, whereas scheduled, as you would expect, are scheduled for the specific time. All right, so we actually have bots in MarineVerse Cup. Bot being this AI, artificial intelligence driven bot that pretends to be a player, but it's actually just a software steering the boat. And what makes bots special is that you can also interact with them. Mainly, you can crash into them, and when you crash into them, there is a collision. Both boats stop. And in platform race, we have bots. We don't have bots. We don't have bots in daily race practice races, and we can have bots again in multiplayer races. Opposite of the bots are ghosts. Ghosts are essentially a replace of other players that sailed before you. And that makes sense in the context of a daily race practice, right? If your friend sailed an hour ago, when you go sailing, you actually can see their ghost and you can kind of try to compete with them. But when they were sailing an hour before, they couldn't see you because you didn't sail yet. And that's kind of what we mean by those game modes not being synchronous. And we call them ghosts because you can actually sail through them. There is no collisions. And why is that? Well, it's because it would kind of get really confusing and unfair, because people sailing at the end of the day, they will have all those obstacles in the form of other players that someone who sailed as a first person in the day wouldn't have it, right? So ghosts are this point of reference about what other players did, and they're sort of fun to see on the race course, but they don't really obey sailboat racing rules, and you don't have collisions with them. We don't use them in platform race, mainly because we have bots, and it would be really confusing to combine the two at this stage. And we also don't use them in multiplayer, because the whole point of multiplayer is to be synchronous. So we don't need ghosts there. And that brings us to the other players, like the actual, in a normal multiplayer sense, other player bots. Are they part of that specific game mode? So as you would expect, in multiplayer game modes, yes, they are, and they are not part of any other modes. In kind of daily race practice, you can see other players as ghosts, but as we already discussed, they are just ghosts. And from that, there is a couple of implications that kind of follow through that. For example, is there a voice chat? Can you chat with other players? Well, yes, you can if those other players are there with you. So you can do that in the multiplayer modes, which are synchronous, but you cannot do it in any of the asynchronous or non-synchronous modes. And lastly, for this video, are there racing rules and collisions? Can you interact with other boats? And essentially, you cannot interact with ghosts, and therefore those things don't apply in the game modes with ghosts. But if you're racing a bot that you can collide with, or if you're racing another player that you can collide with, then we have collisions and we will have sailing rules. This is sort of a state of play or state of game as of March 22, 2021. As we work through it, we may tweak those things. Just to give you an idea of some crazy idea, maybe in a daily race practice, you could invite another player to be your crew and to sail with you on a bigger boat, and that would potentially enable voice chat and would kind of be partially synchronous. But it doesn't exist yet, so yeah, let's not make it even more confusing. In the video description, and this video will be on YouTube, I will provide a high resolution screenshot of this diagram so you can refer to it. And also, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know whether that video was helpful, whether it kind of makes more sense. Maybe there is some other dimension that you would like to hear about, how those different game modes compare to. Feel free to comment and let me know which one is your favorite game mode and why. And maybe there is another game mode that we could have that doesn't exist that you would like to see. Just to give you an example of two future game modes actually one future game mode and another that I just haven't discussed. So obviously we have tutorials, which you could think of as another game mode. Most of those things don't apply. Currently, tutorials don't require you logging in. This may change in the future so that we can track your progress and help you with tips on how to improve and how to progress through tutorials. But currently, those things don't exist. And we also, like one of the very popular feature requests is this concept of a co-op multiplayer, where you and your friend can be on the same boat and you can collaborate in sailing. And that potentially would be another game mode, or that would be just a property or extra feature you can get in instant multiplayer or in a scheduled multiplayer. Not sure yet, and we're actually working on all of that, trying to make it simpler if we can. But as of now, this is what it is. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to leave a comment and hit the subscribe button to get notified about our future videos.